everyone, Meta527ii here, and I am bringing you another commentary. Today's commentary is going to be on myself. It'll be on my top 20 hardest bosses list of 2011. I know what you're thinking. Why are you doing a commentary on yourself? Simple. I wasn't caught out on my mistakes, surprisingly enough. I know this was made 3 years ago, but I'm not doing this for criticism since this is on myself. I'm doing this because I feel stupid for a lot of mistakes I did in my countdown. Let's start. There are a lot of hard bosses out there, and they are meant to challenge the player. Wow, only 15 seconds into the actual countdown and already I noticed a problem. You're talking pretty much monotone. If you want to entertain the viewers, don't talk like you're reading a script, and try to put some personality into your videos. I know the earlier entries on this list are not as hard as the earlier entries on my 2010 version, but still, I don't want this to be as redundant. Dude! Learn to balance out the music and voice! I can barely hear what you're saying! Now, this will not be the last time I make the hardest bosses list, because I will make plenty more hardest bosses lists. I'll just tell you guys that I might or might not still do that. I did make a hardest first bosses list, but yeah. One boss I should have put on my greatest final battles list is Cortex from Crash Bandicoot: The Wrath of Cortex. It's an awesome boss battle, but at the same time, it's very hard. You are being attacked by falling rocks, ice balls, fire, and lasers. The rocks will fall in an unpredictable pattern. The ice balls don't hurt you, but they can freeze you for a little while. Meta? The way you said they can freeze you for a little while. The end of that statement isn't really the way you should talk when you say that. Frankenstein from Castlevania. This guy isn't a problem, but the Igor that jumps around the room is a problem. Shoots fireballs all over the place. You can't kill it, which will make defeating Frankenstein even harder. And you can't kill it, which will make defeating Frankenstein much harder. Annoying pauses like this aren't that hard to edit out. Bellum from Phantom Hourglass is far from easy. What's with that typing sound? It's going to annoy your audience a lot. From the second form, she turns into a demonic fairy that's hard to hit without getting hit yourself. And while you're focused on her, you might accidentally back up into one of the dark lanes. But then she reveals her final form. A turtle? That joke probably would have worked if it weren't for two big flaws. If you're trying to go for one of those types of jokes, you should have at least said it in a more startled tone instead of a completely stupid tone. And jokes like these normally work because people usually stop the music. But you didn't, so that joke fails. This is mainly a fun battle because she can alternate between turtle, spider, and bee, but still hard. The turtle phase is easy, but the spider form is annoying because she can create webs. She can create spider webs. Great usage of that editing. If you get caught, she uses a spiting attack, and to attack her, you have to hit her with a perfectly placed bomb. In the bee form, she's very fast and can rain stingers on you, which will really make you go a lot slower. Wouldn't it have sounded more professional if you said it like, which will really slow you down? Because saying it like that is stupid. Some of you may call that a nitpick, but it's unprofessional. Why isn't she higher on the list? Well, you can beat her last form within about 3 minutes. While using the cursed ring is kind of like playing this game's hard mode, the ring halves your attack and defense, which is annoying, but yeah, it's kind of described as a hard mode. Even if you defeat this form, she fuses with the Aurora unit. You have to attack its tentacles on the sides, then open the hatch with the grapple lasso and attack it. And later in the battle, it creates those Dark Samus clones again. Thankfully, you know now that your target is the Aurora unit in this fight, but they'll still all attack you at once. This is almost the exact same explanation you gave in your hardest levels list and longest bosses list. Would it kill you to make it sound a little bit different? I know you're talking about the same boss, but it's just like watching the same entry with different music. She has 5 forms. In phase 1, you have to avoid her flying attacks, which is a real pain, then attack her when she slows down. Then in the second phase, she constantly shoots fireballs at you, and you have to shoot eggs at her while dodging the fireballs at the exact same time. And you cannot walk around while shooting eggs, so that's gonna make this battle really annoying. If you have a messed up line, don't be lazy and cut off that line. It should only take like 15 seconds to re-record that line. Cloak Nightmare from Kirby's Nightmare in Dreamland. In story mode, it was pretty tough, but in boss rush, he's not easy. is that really the best footage you can show? It's way too choppy and annoying. Yeah, you all know the drill. The Boo from Super Smash Bros. Brawl has a whole variety of moves, some unpredictable, some annoying to avoid, some give gigantic damage, and his Wings of Death can kill you in one hit, and his Golden Bracelet move will kill you in one hit on Intense mode. And that's his hardest attack to avoid. This is another one of the most annoying parts of this list. You're just looping the same footage over and over and over again. I know that you're using footage from the Autark's video, and back when you made this video, you didn't have a capture card and had to rely on Media Converter to get footage where you only had 5 downloads a day. But one extra download won't hurt. And he can even turn you into mushrooms so that you can't attack, but thankfully that will also make you die slower. But he can also turn you into a scarecrow to make some of your attacks useless. And even if he's not being powered by the crystals, he still has some really annoying moves. And the ramming attack is completely unpredictable. You ended up the music too early. I know that you wanted this video to be done for New Year's, but just re-recording the song won't take much longer, would it? I mean, you'd probably have more time if you had waited to make your top 10 longest bosses list. Then you wouldn't have had to rush this video. And the video wouldn't be this messed up. You know what? There are a lot of people debating who's the harder boss in this game. Bonetail and the Shadow Queen. Some people argue that the Shadow Queen is harder because she has 3 forms and separate arms that can make her attack 3 times in one turn, and her separate arms can also steal your HP and add it to her own. Other people say Bonetail is harder because he has more health, power, and defense, and he's at the end of the Pit of 100 Trials, which I explained in my hardest levels list. In my mind, they're both equally difficult. I think I might have a tiebreaker. I normally wouldn't do this, except this is on myself so I can break the tie. I based these bosses on how long it took me to beat them. Both of those bosses took me 4 days to beat, except for Bonetail, because of how long the Pit of 100 Trials is. I only faced him once a day while I had more chances to face the Shadow Queen, so the Shadow Queen took me more tries. Also, the fact that the reason Bonetail would be as hard is mostly because of the Pit of 100 Trials. Here, on the other hand, the Shadow Queen is slightly more difficult even by herself, so I'd have to choose the Shadow Queen. Like I said, I wouldn't be giving a tiebreaker if this wasn't on myself. Arena Tycoon Greta. No one can switch out Pokemon in this battle, so if you're using a Psychic type to beat Heracross, and then she sends out Umbreon to beat your Psychic type, you'll be stuck using a Psychic type. The way you worded that can seriously confuse your viewers. You just said that no one can switch out their Pokemon, but then you just said that she'd send out Umbreon after sending out Heracross. I know you're trying to say that after you beat Heracross, she'll send out Umbreon, but people who haven't played Pokemon will get confused by that. Medius is teamed up with a lot of powerful Manakins, Bishops that heal allies, Ballisticians that attack great distances, and your characters won't even be able to support each other much because they're divided in groups instead of being all together at the same time, and there's barely any space on the map where an enemy won't reach you next turn. Even when you finally reach Medius, on hard mode, you have to be lucky to survive his attacks, even if you're playing as Marth with the Falchion. And, like I said earlier, in Fire Emblem games, I count the entire level as part of the boss battle. Turn the sound effects down before you save your video. They're louder than your voice. I know you found a file with no music playing and you wanted to include the sound effects, but turn them down! Warning, the following enchantment list contains massive spoilers from Kingdom Hearts 350 over 2 days. Xion. Wow, that was quick! Couldn't you at least have given a short pause between the spoiler warning and revealing the entry? People won't have enough time to react to spoilers! The third form is the most difficult because her combo attacks almost always one-hit kill you, and she still has that black hole attack. In the first 3 phases of the battle, she can use the force field to heal a huge chunk of her HP. Thankfully, you can prevent it. Hey Meta! You got a big variety of vocabulary! Just saying thankfully all the darn time. Thankfully this, thankfully that. Thankfully there's a quick way to defeating it. Thankfully you can't get hurt by its bats. Thankfully you know now that your target is your roar unit in this fight. But thankfully that will also make you die slower. Thankfully the rain stops after a few turns. Thankfully you can stop the attack. And I have nothing more to say about the rest of the video, but to keep it from being anticlimactic, I'll show in my ending statement. And I can't beat her when trying to get the challenge sigils. And so that is why Xion is the hardest video game boss I have ever faced. Alright, now to give my final thoughts. This is a good example of how not to do a countdown. redundant dialogue, long pauses, bad sentence cropping, and dull voice recording, and you got yourself a formula for a terrible countdown. I'm not going to complain about the order, but this video was absolute garbage. I still don't get why it's one of my most viewed videos of 2011. Excuse me, it was made on the first day of 2012. Even so, I don't get it. My hatred for this countdown is not because of how overdone hardest bosses lists are, because even the most overdone topics can be awesome if you put a lot of effort into them. But did I put a lot of effort into this video? No! Oh, and another thing. I would have put Robo SpongeBob and the Giant Fleabot on this list too, right above the Cloak Nightmare, but I didn't because I was too oversensitive about copyright back then, thinking that I would get banned even if I showed footage of licensed-based games. I'm sorry if you still enjoyed the countdown. You're free to like it if you want, but I just feel stupid about uploading it. I hope you enjoyed this commentary. I would have just sped up the parts that I don't have anything to say in case someone commentated on my commentary and wanted to pick up what I missed, but let's face it, not a lot of people will be willing to make a commentary that ends up defending me, even if it is for myself. I hope you all enjoyed this video, and this is Meta527ii, signing out.